Oh, there we go. Bring it. Hi, Morton. Hi, Morton. It's probably not going to be worth your while. I'm only going to be doing a couple of videos just to educate people about the ghoul that is Enoch Powell. Let's see if we can find Keir Starmer's fucking speech first. Then we'll go back the way and educate the masses. Let's wait for some more people to turn up. And while we're waiting, let's see if I can find that speech that he gave. Okay. Oh, spelled his name wrong. Keir Starmer. Right? Oh. Maybe Owen's got it.
Just back from my philosophy club. Hello. Just back from my philosophy club. Hello. Just back from my philosophy club. Hello. Hello.
Rejoice, comrades. The lovely philosopher, Scribby, has arrived. Hello, Scribby. Welcome, welcome. Thank you. Will that bring it up? Here we go. This should be fun. Watch me lose my rag at our fucking Prime Minister, who I never voted for. Like I keep on saying, don't trust Labour. I've told everyone in the area. The ones that'll listen to me. Can't fucking trust them. They've done us in the back before. So no. Fuck off, Labour. And hopefully Anna Sarwell will get booted next year. Ha ha ha.
Okay, what I'm going to ask you to do is going to seem like a big challenge. But I want you to park for a moment what you think about Keir Starmer. I want you to park what you think about immigration. All right, I'm asking quite a lot here. These are tough asks. These are topics which inflame huge passions. I've got faith in you. You can do this. The question here is about honesty. It's about integrity. It's about having the country run by someone with no principles, who seems to believe in absolutely nothing, zero, zilch, except for power for its own sake, and all the trappings that come with it, which is why Keir Starmer has received more gifts and freebies, like suits and glasses from wealthy Labour donor Lord Ali, than every Labour leader since 1997 put together. And yes, guys, that really does include Tony Blair. Let's start by listening to our Prime Minister, Sir Keir Starmer, doing a speech. I know what you're thinking. Oh, great, another Starmer speech. Yeah, I thought the same. Let's just have a listen to what he said.
Let me put it this way. Nations depend on rules, fair rules. Sometimes they're written down, often they're not. But either way, they give shape to our values, guide us towards our rights, of course, but also our responsibilities, the obligations we owe to each other. Now, in a diverse nation like ours, and I celebrate that, these rules become even more important. Without them, we risk becoming an island of strangers, not a nation.
Keir, Prime Minister, sir. Well, fuck him, no. The whole peerage system needs brought down, destroyed, utterly burnt. Get rid of. You do know we've been a multicultural nation for fucking centuries? Literally lots of different types of people have moved here for fucking centuries. Even before we became a constitutional monarchy, when we had monarchs, actual God-ordained fucking nutters, essentially. We've been multicultural for fucking ages. We aren't an island of strangers. You're strange with some of the shit that you say, and downright ghoulish with this one, echoing that absolute monster Powell. Right, let's carry on.
That walks forward together. So when you have an immigration system that seems almost designed to permit abuse, that encourages...
Paul Ovenden, I will check him out. Thank you, Scribby. So what, he's the second in command's usually the, I hate having to say this, the muscle, essentially. Obviously he won't be well, he might be, I don't know him. Maybe a big burly person. But that's usually the enforcement arm, essentially. You know, like, the one that actually runs the office is probably him, while McSweeney's standing above with the marionette tool. Da-da-da-da. Oh God. Nina. She slaps the big mouth on people and she controls what they say with this big comedy mouth that she puts on the people that she gets up on her stage. That's what McSweeney's doing. Empty suit here. We can see you throughout this, Morgan, by the way. Thank you. Thought you might like to know that.
encourages some businesses to bring in lower paid workers rather than invest in our young people. Or simply...
That's a government role as well, Keir. You're meant to help facilitate that. Or do you not know what being in power means? I can help you. I can tell you what to do. I can be your Morgan McSweeney if you like. Oh, God. Am I classing Ian Murray as Scottish? Doesn't fucking act like it.
One that is sold by politicians to the British people on an entirely false premise, then you're not championing growth. You're not championing justice or however else people defend the status quo. You're actually contributing to the forces that are slowly pulling our country apart. So yes, I believe in this. I believe we need to reduce immigration significantly. That's why some of the policies in this white paper go back nearly 3 years. Why I told the Labour Party conference, taking back control is a Labour argument. And why, most importantly of all, inward migration is already falling with this government.
Again, I did ask you to park what you think about immigration and all that. We'll talk about that in a minute. I just want to go through this and the level of deception, the level of deceit here in terms of what Keir Starmer once said and what he says now. He says here, because of immigration, we risk becoming an island of strangers, not a nation that walks forward together, saying that accordingly, immigration must be much lower. Let me just read a passage from a famous speech, because quite a few people have noticed the similarities. It reads as follows: "But while to the immigrant, entry to this country was admission to privileges and opportunities eagerly sought, the impact upon the existing population was very different. For reasons which they could not comprehend, and in pursuance of a decision by default, on which they were never consulted, they found themselves made strangers in their own country." That's Enoch Powell in his notorious Rivers of Blood speech in 1968 that led to him being sacked, that speech, by the then Conservative leader Ted Heath. Now, furthermore, in Starmer's foreword to the new immigration white paper being published by the government, he says that the damage immigration has done to our country is incalculable, saying public services and housing access have been placed under too much pressure.
40 years of not building housing might have added to that. Literally echoing one of the worst racists this country has ever fucking produced. Between him and fucking Churchill and a few others from about like the 1900s, turn of the century to about the 70s. Then it started getting a bit better. Obviously, you still had skinheads and fucking fascists walking in the streets. But that was blatant. You're playing into Manfrog's hands, Keir, or Morgan, should I say. The people you're appealing to will not vote for you. They still see you as socialist. Don't know fucking how you're not. I thought I recognised the fucking name. I know who this fucker is. Thanks, Scribby. Yeah, nasty piece of work. See? He's the muscle. He's probably the enforcement wing under McSweeney. And if he was working for the Telegraph, he probably has loads of fucking shit in the cabinet. If you piss too many people off, they will cross the chain. Oh, who the fuck would they cross to? Have they got any fucking principles? They'll just become independents and go and join Zara and Jeremy. Oh God, I might look that up after I've educated you on fucking Enoch Powell. Starmer, you're a ghoul. We are not an island of strangers. Immigrants is what's made this place good for us. Bringing lots of people in. It's like it's Windrush all over again. And only a few years after it too. Fucking hell.
Let's listen to the same Keir Starmer now, shall we? In 2020, when he was running to be leader of the Labour Party.
We welcome migrants. We don't scapegoat them. Low wages, poor housing, poor public services are not the fault of migrants and people who've come here. They're political failure. Political failure. So we have to make the case for the benefits.
So back then, he was passionately saying we don't scapegoat migrants, that low wages, poor housing, poor public...
Oh look, all lies. You cannot trust a thing that this man says. Can't. You want more on this? Why he lies and how much of a liar he is? We all know Helena. Seriously, I've said this to them. Fucking hell. Do not vote for Labour. And what did we get? Another fucking Labour MP who I've emailed to get help. The passport officer being dicks. So hopefully, now that she's on the case, I'll get my passport soon. I had to do the name change because my previous passport was before I got married and had my birth name, my birth surname on it. But I'm married now. I am Katie Marshall. So I needed to do the name change anyway. And it'll be a shiny new navy, dark blue. Navy, isn't it? Shiny new navy one. A Brexit benefit. Passports made in fucking France. God. Fucking ridiculous.
Services are not the fault of migrants and people who've come here. They're political failure, he said. So we have to make the case, he said, for the benefits of migration. Oh, there's more. Woo, boy, don't you worry about that. There's more, all right? Here he is also during that leadership contest.
I think Conservatives have created this hostile environment, whether it's Windrush, whether it's the general response to immigration, or whether it's just the way the Home Office make their decisions. It's...
Lest we forget, Theresa May. Christ, I can't quite remember what was on them, but the trucks. Go home now or something? I can't remember. I've blanked it. When she was Home Secretary. Delightful. Thanks, Theresa.
Based on this idea that somebody's trying to cheat rather than actually based on an open, welcoming environment. I think we should welcome people wherever they come from, thank them for their contribution and see them as part of our families, our communities and our society, and embrace that. I mean, London is an amazingly diverse and fantastic place for it, and the whole of the United Kingdom is better because of immigration. And I think, if I'm honest, the Labour Party has been a bit scared of making the positive case for immigration for quite a number of years. And I think we need to turn that round and broaden it out and make sure that people feel absolutely welcome here.
So there he says, I think Conservatives have created a hostile environment, this hostile environment, he says, referring to immigration, denouncing the promotion of the idea that immigration is based on people trying to cheat rather than actually based on an open, welcoming environment. He says, I think we should welcome people wherever they come from, thank them for their contribution and see them as part of our families, our communities and our society, and embrace that. Not only does he say Britain is better off because of immigration, he even assailed Labour for being, as he put it, a bit scared of making the positive case for immigration for quite a number of years, and how that must change. He said that must change. So back then he was actually suggesting that Jeremy Corbyn, his predecessor, had not been pro-immigration enough. Let's just speak directly here. This is the most brazenly dishonest Prime Minister, the most brazenly dishonest frontline politician in British democratic history. Yeah, I honestly believe that. Someone immediately go, oh, what about Boris Johnson? There's no question Boris Johnson was pathologically dishonest. And I wrote about that over and over again when he was our Prime Minister. But the reason Starmer is more dishonest, more fundamentally dishonest, is that Johnson did not run as one thing to become Tory leader and then do something completely different. The equivalent would have been if Johnson had run to be Tory leader on the hard Brexit platform, which was obviously at the core of what he was talking about, and then ended up, I don't know, joining the customs union single market. That would have been comparable. In that leadership election, Starmer notoriously put forward what he described as 10 pledges. Pledges, those are cast iron.
Pledges. It's gonna be my comrade. Thank you. Holy fuck, I forgot how bad it was. I wonder how many people actually texted. That last sentence, we can help you to return home voluntarily without fear of arrest or detention. Really, you did know where these people came from, Theresa. You did. Most of these people were fleeing from persecution and possibly death and detainment. Illegal detention in their home countries. That's why they fucking fled. That is sickening.
Promises, that's what pledges. That included increasing tax on the richest 5%, which he abandoned, even though our public services need the money today far more than they did even back then when he made the pledge half a decade ago. He promised to scrap tuition fees, abandoned. He promised public ownership of utilities like water and energy, abandoned. He promised to promote peace and human rights, including making Britain a force for international peace and justice. This is the same guy who still gives Israel the crucial components for F-35 jets to rain death and destruction on the people of Gaza, including little children. On the question of immigration, he's gone from claiming Jeremy Corbyn wasn't pro-immigration enough to sounding like Enoch Powell. And for those who go, oh, he's allowed to change his mind, people are allowed to change their minds and go on journeys, are they not? Now, instinctively, my response there is don't take the piss. Don't insult everyone's intelligence. You don't believe that any more than Keir Starmer believes anything he says. Let's not pretend a man in his early 60s went through a sudden Damascene conversion, which happened to coincide with having been safely installed as leader of the Labour Party, when before that he knew perfectly well that the Labour membership at the time was left-wing and would never in a million years have voted for the policies and approach Starmer went on to adopt. Come on, we know that. You know that. We all know that. Let's not take the piss. The recent book Get In, written by the incredibly well-connected Sunday Times journalists Patrick Maguire and Gabriel Pogrund, made clear that Starmer's team deliberately lied to the Labour membership in order to get elected. Various words are used to describe that, like hoodwinked. Now, what's happened as of late is very strange.
A lie is a lie is a lie. He literally lied to the party membership to get elected leader, but that was Morgan McSweeney's doing. He helped do that. Literally kicking out left-wing Labour Party members, including lowly people. I didn't really need to. I said to my sister the minute it looked like they were going to be, said they're going to take him out, I know it. And they did, they took him out. I said, you can stop. My sister paid for my membership of the Labour Party. I didn't go to any conferences or anything. Couldn't, even if I could afford it, it would probably fucking kill me. And I would never go to a Scottish Labour conference up here. I hate Annis, and I had my fill of Jackie Bailey when she was my MP before we got Holyrood up and running. So no, I would have been able and physically able to go to those and stuff, but I would have went up and decked Annis. Seriously, there was a couple other people for what they'd done to Richard Leonard. He was actually quite decent, and what they'd done to him, absolutely disgusting. On the behest of the party down south, before Jeremy took over. This was during was this Miliband? Sure, it was Miliband. That happened to Richard Leonard. I despise Anas Sarwar. Like I say, I hope he gets booted off the list next year. Ha ha ha. We even got a constituency. His own deputy, Jackie Bailey's got an actual constituency. I hope she gets booted as well. Do I like my MSP? Better than Paul Martin, I guess.
Forward. Labour got a kicking at the hands of Reform UK, and Keir Starmer is pivoting to bash immigration in an effort to stop them winning more votes. Here's the teeny tiny little problem. Forget the rights and wrongs of that approach. Just forget that. Again, I'm asking you to park a lot. I'm asking you to do a lot. We know from all the precedents that this strategy fails on its own terms. In the first half of the 2010s, both Labour and Tory leaderships, back then David Cameron, Ed Miliband, spent vast amount of time and effort bashing immigration. It just drove up Nigel Farage's support and led to Brexit. That's what happened. In other countries like France, like Germany, like Austria, politicians competing over bashing immigration has just increased support for anti-migrant parties, anti-migrant right-wing parties at the expense of mainstream parties. Why? Really straightforward. Because it shifts the conversation on
Front National, oh, sorry, was a national rally now. Marine Le Pen. I don't know any of the people in the AFD. I'll just nick, obviously most of them are fucking rabid racists and other assorted shit fuckery goes on in that party, I'm sure of it. Giorgia Meloni in Italy. Spain's not too bad. I can't remember some of the ones in Europe, fuck. I'll need to ask Eleanor for that. But yeah, it's on the rise. Delightful. Oh! Does Netherlands have one? That's in coalition, I think. Or is it Belgium? Might be the Netherlands, actually. So in the Netherlands as well, it's on the rise.
To their terrain. It legitimizes their arguments. It means they're winning the argument. They can say that. It means they can claim voting for them delivers results. And they can always outbid the main parties and always seem more authentic and believable. What we really need, as Starmer said years ago, is politicians who don't blame problems in our society caused by them and the powerful and rich people on migrants, like the bankers who plunged this country into catastrophe. We never recovered from that, did we?
No.
Like the tax-dodging rich people who don't pay their taxes, even though they depend on everything from infrastructure to workers in this country slogging their guts out to make money for them. Or indeed, the form of hard Brexit we ended up with. Let's just be honest about it. I mean, it is quite striking, isn't it, how Keir Starmer wrapped himself in the kind of EU flag. He was arch Remainer, Mr. Remainer, wasn't he? Helping actually to push Labour into a direction which was not good for them electorally, let's be honest. He pushed that in 2019, going on about how pro-Remain and all the rest of it he was, which obviously included free movement, in order to win over the Labour membership. And I have to say, those Liberals who went along with this, are you not embarrassed? You're not embarrassed by this? It's pretty humiliating, isn't it? That because a lot of you still are supporting this guy. It was all vibes for you, it was never substance, it was all vibes. He seemed to be one of yours. Liberal lawyer. Well, look what he's doing. I mean, he's more right-wing than Boris Johnson on this issue. Literally, by the way. That's not a joke. It's not an exaggeration. He's out trying to outbid Nigel Farage.
And like I keep on saying, it's not going to fucking work. Starmer or McSweeney, can you hear me yet? These people aren't going to vote for you. They've got a better... Did you see that poll? Oh, fucking love it. Love it. S&P ahead of the scum on seats. Fucking bring it. 2029 can't come soon enough. Rejoice, comrades. The ever-based story girl from the land down under. Hi, Gemma. We're going over our lovely Prime Minister's speech. Then we're going back to the source. Enoch Powell, another fucking ghoul. So this is Owen Jones covering that speech. Can't you believe it's over a week ago? Seems still fresh in my mind. So now, a week in politics isn't a long time, it's fucking short.
It's true, again, in terms of problems. Look, you know, whatever we think about, I mean, I was a Eurosceptic for Remain. I've got lots of problems with the EU, shrining neoliberalism at the expense of people. I'm not going to go into that now. But, I mean, what happened is we ended up with a form of Brexit, and we ended up voting for Brexit overwhelmingly because of the issue of immigration. We ended up with a form of hard Brexit, which has clearly damaged the economy and living standards. And
Owen is speaking for England and parts of Wales there. Scotland and Northern Ireland didn't want it. We voted overwhelmingly to remain because most of us, don't get me wrong, there's people here who are Eurosceptic who voted for immigration reasons as well. A small percentage. But the reasons people up here wanted to leave but still voted Remain is because we didn't want those bastards, that shower of fucking ghouls, doing it. Then being in power after we left the EU. Because they'll just double down or triple down on their neoliberalism fucking bullshit and immiserate this country further. And look what's happened. 15 years of... well, fuck it. Carry it on. Literally. Reeves is sticking to their fucking economic plan. Nearly word for word. What the fuck? And with this fucking suitcase, walking suit essentially, I can see the strings coming out of his back and his head. This country's literally screaming out for funding and we're not going to fucking get it from her.
Public services. Far more than anything immigration is claimed to have done. Now, the reason our public services are principally in a mess is because of austerity. It's because of cuts that came after the bankers plunged this country into disaster, and then governments decided who should pick up the tab for that? You. Because they didn't want to...
What's it? Manus Island, isn't it? Thank you, Juice Media, for educating this lowly Scot. Anything that happens down there, I usually just go to Juice Media. Because they're funny as fuck. That and Punter. He's quite funny. Thank you, Punter.
Tax rich people properly, for a start. Now, if we reduce the number of migrants coming in who pay more in tax than there's help from the state, when we've got an ageing population, how are we going to support them guys? Then we're going to have less money. Just a basic fact. If we're going to have this conversation, let's have it honestly. Because this topic as well takes up so much time. We end up not talking about why our services are in such a mess because of the rich hoovering up the wealth created by the efforts of millions of workers. And because we don't deal with that issue, then we'll talk about that issue, we don't deal with that issue. And so it just gets worse and worse and worse. This topic is killing us. It's killing us. It's because we're distracted from the real problems. We're distracted from the real causes of the mess we're in, so we don't fix the problems. And this is the same topic we've had now dominating politics for, 15 years? Literally, every Prime Minister has gone on about this, ad infinitum. Are we better off? I mean, quite literally, millions of workers are worse off than they were in 2008. My prediction is Starmer will never satisfy those angry about immigration. He'll never be seen as authentic on the issue. He'll just help make the issue the main topic of debate in this country, and that will help shore up Nigel Farage. Meanwhile, Starmer's not going to solve the cost of living crisis, or the housing crisis, or public services being on their knees. What he's proven, again, is that he's pathologically dishonest.
I keep on forgetting about Nauru. Thank you, Gemma. Yeah. Well, at least it's not the Liberals and the Nationals. I assume there's still some of them in whatever your Commons is. At least you've got a second electable. We don't. Please, give us a second electable and proportional representation. Fuck. I cannot deal with first past the post for much longer. And I'm relatively young. I've hopefully still got another 30 odd years left in me. So there's a good 4 or 5 general elections, depending on how the parties do. I want proportional representation, you motherfuckers. We've got that up here for the list, so we can number them who get onto the list. We've still got constituencies and stuff, so that's still first past the post to get a constituency, same as Westminster. But to get for the list, it's 1, 2, 3, blah blah blah. We don't. With that, you don't need to number them all. You can number as much as you want, or as the least you want. I usually, for our list, there's usually loads. It's usually about 10 that we can number up to for my constituency, for the list for the area that I'm in Glasgow. I think the last time I done that, I think I numbered 8, went up to 8. The other ones were all right-wing fucking loony parties. Well, I always give the Monster Raving Loony my number 4. I like them. They usually run for the area, for Holyrood, and they get my 4. The other 3 are a toss-up, essentially. But I think they might get bumped up to 3. Yes, correct. Like, yeah. There is no, it makes no fucking sense, to me, at least. I don't know why he's doing it. You can't out Farage. Farage care. Will they listen? Will they fuck? Did you see the polling for them? For the Tories? They're 4th. And going on the percentages, the SNP will get more seats than them. They might be down to double digits, they'll be under 20 seats essentially. And if it looks like, if the polling, obviously it's 4 fucking years yet, 4.5, well no, nearly into June. Yeah, fuck it, say 4 years. That will be a long time, obviously, with the bastard government. We'll have more seats than the Tories. Hurry up and die already. But, unfortunately, on the polling as it came out from YouGov, Gold Star pollster in the UK, Reform would be the party of government. England, do not do me like this. I do not want Nigel Farage as Prime Minister. You think it was bad under the Tories? Holy fuck. We'll be turbo screwed with that ghoul as Prime Minister.
He doesn't say anything out of conviction or principle. He only cares about power. We deserve better than that. That's why, at the moment, I'm backing, for example, Zach Polanski to be Green Party leader, and why the left more generally needs to get our act together to offer a positive vision of society rather than this truly miserable race to the bottom.
Scottish Green
Please like and subscribe. Please leave your thoughts. Press like, subscribe. I've already said that. Leave your thoughts. Help us take on the dire media landscape at patreon.com/orangehouse84. Listen to us on the podcast, wherever you get your podcast.
So rejoice, this lunatic can actually form Green Party policy. I've got areas of concern, obviously, and I'll tell them about my disabilities and shit like that. Better protection for disabled workers, stuff like that. And I might suggest Tidal, possibly. A lot of this is reserved. We don't have a lot of the... They could have given us more. They could have went the full Smith Commission after our referendum in 2014. Thank you, Cameron. And the Lib Dems for that one, at least. Thanks. And people fucking believed Better Together. I told them, don't fucking trust them. Look what happened. We could have got a lot more than the powers that we've got just now, if they give us the full Smith Commission recommendations. They didn't. They gave us a third. And they could... It was feasible for them to do this. And it's still feasible for them to give the powers up here to us. We don't vote for yous. Well, fuck it. We did. We returned Scottish Labour down to Westminster for fuck knows what reason. And some scum. Andrew Bowie. Bleh.
You can listen instead of watching this. I'll speak to you in a bit.
No, I've got my you're on my Discord, aren't you, Numpty Woman? I assume you are. I've got a philosophy section. You can shove it in there if you like, and I'll do some more research, and we can do that. I can maybe bring you on each stream. I can be coherent. Trust me on that. Okay, on to the ghoulish Enoch Powell. Oh God, this is going to be cancerous. Oh my God. He was right about Earth, I didn't get to fuck. No, 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 hello? Some tiny fucking left-wing channels I can... Go away, Starkey, you're a wank. No. God damn it. Oh God. No, I'm not enough. Oh, fuck's sake. I just want a left-wing channel to talk about the fucker. Hmm. No. What? Pat McFadden's got a YouTube channel? Fuck off. Oh God, the full speech. No, 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 no. I'm going to have to... That wouldn't work. Just watch that. No, they're not leftists. They're definitely not. No. No. Oh, dear God. It's a bit long. Spite. Jonathan Miller. Oops. Oops. Well, it's only 14 minutes.
I was saying to Mr. Powell, it was said, for example, that you became the hero of this.
Right, before we get into this one, I have no idea who Dick Cavett is. Fuck. I'll be back momentarily, comrades. Bear with me.
skinheads who were
The skinheads. I became the hero of 90% of the people of this country for having said what they were waiting for somebody to say, for identifying a danger of which they were conscious but couldn't believe that nobody would see it or point it out. And I still am.
And you still are, but I mean, there was a certain amount, you will admit, of reaction. The hero of the skinheads was a phrase used in an article.
No, there was no violent reaction.
As if we've seen them reported in America as these kids with their hair shaved down who go out and occasionally beat up Pakistani people.
And that happened before my.
Mr. Cava, I'm assuming. They're called skinheads. I've met old skinheads. Some of them were rockers. Used to drink in a pub that I used to go to. Until it started being, even in their old age. I met them when they were in their late 50s and 60s, and that was fucking 20 years ago. As long as they didn't cause problems, the manageress was fine with them coming in and drinking and stuff. Not getting too rowdy and shit like that. But one of them kicked off one night. I was there. I was sitting at the bar with my bestie, with my friend, after having worked quite enduriously for BT. So I thought, fuck it, I just got paid, I'm going for a drink and something to eat. And they kicked off at the back end of this pub, near to the gents. And because one of them kicked off, they all got blocked, they all got booted. And all their little photos got put around other pubs that we know that they frequent, and they all got blocked from quite a lot of the music scene, the rock and heavy metal punk scene, because of this one fucking idiot. This man was in his 50s at this point, he was like 58 or something. And he kicked off, and she said, nope, booted. I don't think he was a racist, he was just a bit of a purist in his music, and he usually got a little bit loud, but that would be it. But because he felt affronted by someone who'd only been drinking in the pub for about 2 or 3 years at that point, they were relatively new to this pub. I'd only been drinking in that pub for about 2 years, 3 years at that point. Yeah, 3 years. And this nutter kicked off. So no, we will not stand for that nonsense. We get loud with the music, not with our voices.
Speech as well, and has not happened more since than before.
Fighting Gale!
Yeah, I'm just saying.
Nor was there any act of violence associated with that speech, and the one which was alleged was investigated by the police and found to be a false report. What there was, as I say, was a tremendous explosion of emotion, indeed.
I wouldn't trust the police as far as I could throw myself. Especially back then.
That at last something which threatened this country, which people had been watching coming, was recognized, was talked about. That's what happened. And since then, at least...
Oi, Enoch. You do know that most of the people who were coming into the country at this point were Commonwealth citizens. Some of them held British passports, for fuck's sake. They were imperial citizens. Before we started letting them get independence and shit like that. These were people who we'd ruled over, who the British state had ruled over. We invited them in after the war to help rebuild our fucking decimated country. And a lot of them had moved here before this, during the Second World War and just before it. These were British citizens. And you were inflaming reactionary parts of society who just needed one vague glimmer of a reason to kick off and start all this nonsense. You are scum. I'm glad you are dead now. By the way, he was born in 1912. Have a guess when the ghoul died. I didn't know it was as late as I checked before starting the stream. Take a guess when the fucker died. Oh, Gemma. My mum done all that for Gran as well. Trying to coordinate with her two sisters' manties. And her older brother, my uncle, to get it all sorted. But she'd done the majority of the work, getting everything done. She was knackered. If you need any tips or anything, I hope it doesn't cost you too much. Granny had 2 sets of money set aside that my uncle knew about and told Mum. So there was 1 set aside for the funeral, then the rest was to come to the grandchildren, essentially. She left it to her children, essentially, and the parents distributed it to the grandkids. So, me, 12 grandkids. Quite a lot. That's excluding my poor sister who didn't survive. She was born with half a heart. So it would have been 13. Ooh, unlucky. We all got £500 each. I can't remember what I'd done with it. When did she die? Kyla was pregnant 10 years ago. Oh my god. 2015. Yeah. Decade since Granny passed.
At least we've been able to talk about it. At least
Certainly been discussed.
At least we've been able gradually to elicit some of the facts. Do you know the very facts of numbers were grossly underestimated 2 or 3 years ago? I myself underestimated them. In 1964, 1965, I myself supposed that this immigrant population, which I've explained, would stabilize at roughly 1 million. And while I thought that this was something which it would have been better if it had been avoided, still it didn't seem to me that it represented...
Vitingale, this person you're seeing on your screen right now is Enoch Powell. He was a Tory before then Tory party leader Ted Heath booted him for a speech that he gave. Outright racist, essentially, an imperialist, essentially. So then after the Tory party booted him, he went and joined the Ulster Unionist Party and represented, got voted back in. He voted in for Southdown in, well, it's called Northern Ireland, but there is only Ireland, obviously. So the Ulster Unionist Party took him in. Delightful. Another reason to hate fucking Unionists, especially ones from Northern Ireland. And represented them until he got voted out in 80.
a major problem
Oh.
for the future of this country. It is the numerical facts that have changed the outcome.
I never said it. He was born in 1912. He died in 1998. When I was 19. Holy fuck. So that's 86. Lived too long. Ugh.
Yes.
I think that you as a philosopher will recognize that one of the dangers of a reasonable argument is that it's often rationalistic to the exclusion of empirical arguments, and that rationalism is not necessarily a recommendation. It may in fact seriously undermine the empirical and reasonable social validity of such an argument. There are so many. Well, there are so many.
Splendid.
There are so many. There are so many empirical falsehoods in what you've said that I think I'd like to take one or two of them rather carefully. First of all,
Yes, only it's my program and not yours.
No, it belongs to no one. It belongs to no one at all.
Shall I take one point?
No, first of all, the program belongs to no one. It's Mr. Cavot's program, and we are simply talking to one another.
So you and I must be careful not to hog it, and in particular...
No one is hogging. You have to...
As I didn't interrupt your contribution, I'm sure you will only interrupt my contribution very briefly.
I'm not interrupting your contribution. I'm simply offering a point. What I want to ask you, one or two issues. Are you worrying about the increase in numbers or the increase in the number of people who the population at large feel anxious about because of some certain recognizable feature they have? Are you worrying about the increase in the size of the population or the increase of a certain element of the population?
Scrubby, are you still here? Who is this dude? I need to know more about this person. Oh, Fightingale, you can thank Shanna for all the well, most of the bells and whistles. There's still some stuff I can do to make my stream better, obviously. I'll get there, don't worry. I just need to coordinate with Shanna so she can help me. Scrubby, my man, please. I need to know more about this person. Taking this ghoul to task, fucking loving it. Carry on,
which
Jonathan
is,
Miller.
in some way, have features which are like...
Of course, we are not concerned with the increase in the total population from, say, 55 to 60 million.
Mm-hmm.
We are concerned with the increase in an element of a population which is profoundly different.
Holy fuck, he would have a fit. We're nearly 70 now. We can take more, if we build more houses, we can take in a lot more people. Funny that, build more council housing or affordable housing. We can actually treat people with respect and give them housing. Homeless people, immigrants, refugee, asylum seekers. Will any fucking government do this? I fucking doubt it. Oh. Yeah, I know. I see the guy's name. I just don't know about him, unfortunately. There's other people that I know about that were challenging him.
Thinks itself different, is seen as different from the rest. And that is where the significance both of number and of concentration comes in.
Ooh, scary brown people. You do know that there was British citizens, imperial citizens, who weren't this colouring. We are majority white, don't get me wrong. We're one of the whitest countries in the world. That's why a lot of the racists in America are fucking freaking out. You need to have more white babies. Thank you, Great Replacement Theory. Fucking hell. This doesn't necessarily mean good. Trust me, there's plenty of fucking scumbags with my complexion. Look, one of them is sitting right there. this one, not this one.
Now, it could be as serious, indeed it could be more serious, if that different population were white and not coloured. I can well imagine that if they were, for example, Germans or Russians who were going to be occupying
Right.
2/5 or a half of Birmingham at the beginning of the next century, we should... Yes, in occupation,
Well,
living there. But as with some of your American cities, a considerable proportion. In the case of Birmingham, it will be at least 2/5 will be occupied by the immigrants and their descendants by the early years of the next century.
Above all, their descendants.
Yes, indeed.
Yes, but
those descendants will still be thoroughly separate, for the most part, from the rest of the...
I think Kev probably already knows this. Powell was born in Birmingham. I might bring it up to him before he goes live with Curtis on Turn Left tomorrow. Or today, essentially. I might say to him, and I'll tell him that we covered this stain on humanity.
Population because of the numbers. If the numbers were small, then of course, like any very small minority, they would filter into the population. But nobody seriously imagines that if 2/5 of Birmingham consists of a first generation of descendants born here, of people from the West Indies, from Africa and from Asia, there will not be a profound difference between that part of the population and the rest.
I think there may be a difference. In fact, there certainly will be a difference. Whether that difference is enough to promote anxiety, unless someone declares...
You think nobody would notice?
No, I think they'll notice, certainly. The question about is whether they will notice with fear and horror, unless someone announces to them that fear and horror are an appropriate response to such a fact.
I see. And you think that human nature is such that unless somebody referred to this, nobody would notice that their own native cities were transformed, that the white population was moving out and a different population was moving in.
I didn't say that.
Well, you think then that it would be noticed, but that it would not merely be tolerated, but would be taken as a desirable or acceptable development?
No, I didn't say that either.
Well, that is what you have to say. That is what you have to say. If this is not to be a problem.
You're simply putting words which you would find convenient in my mouth. What I said was that I didn't say that there would be no difficulties. Difficulties are in the nature of human coexistence. What I said was that the differences that there would be are not necessarily the differences which would excite fear and horror unless someone stands up and says that fear and horror are an appropriate response. Someone invested with the authority of public office. When you do that, the charisma of your office and the charisma of your role as a politician will often convince people that fear and horror are an appropriate response if that is what is being told to them. It's what philosophers call a performative utterance. No doubt you're familiar with it.
And
let me go on.
No, you're not to go on, because I'm going to tell you that if you believe that, you will believe anything. It is stark nonsense to say that if I had never been born, the same dangers and problems would have existed in this country.
No, I didn't say that either.
Well, you did indeed.
No, I did not. I did not say
I've made it easier for you.
No, you haven't at all. I did not say that the same dangers would not exist. I did not say that ethnic frictions don't exist between groups that are drawn from different areas and that have different racial origins. Social cooperation is a hard and a difficult thing. I feel that you would have done your duty as a politician, as an ethical politician, much more productively if instead of exciting the notion of future strife, you had encouraged the notion of future cooperation on the basis of understanding.
Then will you tell me why it is that those in the race relations industry who profess to be trying to do just that find it necessary to draw attention to the dangers of future strife, and indeed do so in terms as strong as any that I have ever used?
Because the British state is inherently racist. Because of people like you and other politicians and other structures, media, things like that. Well, not quite then, but it will happen like a couple of years after this interview or this airing, essentially. a year after this is when Rupert moves up to here. Gemma, why didn't you have that bastard chained down? Seriously, that's a ghoul and a half.
I will not be saddled with the follies of the other side as well. The mere fact that errors are made by people who have the best intentions does not mean that I have to adopt their methods or favour them.
No, it doesn't,
I deplore your techniques and I deplore some of their techniques. What I ask for is not rationalism or reasonableness, but a sense of the variety of human existence, and also an attention to the capacities of human beings to absorb each other's differences, rather than an encouragement and an exhortation to excite the sense of difference and to deplore it.
And what I ask for is that you should not live in a fool's paradise.
And either the 60 or 1969, Rupert Murdoch moves up to here and buys the... I want to say the Mirror or the Sun. Is it the Mirror? No, it's the Sun. He comes up here and buys the Sun. Then he buys the Times in 80s, I think. So, a decade and a half, roughly, before he bought the Times over. So, he'd been basically destroying your media. Then moved up to Britain. There, another Commonwealth citizen. Holy fuck. Yeah, he moves up in the late 60s. He moves up to Britain then. Couldn't be content with destroying his homeland. He thought he'd come up here and ruin our media. Seriously, Rupert, fuck off. But now he's got what he wants. The right-wing media in America is fucking wild. At least we have some sort of media regulator, but it's essentially toothless where most of the media is concerned. Did he? Christ, poor Adelaide. Yeah, well, he came up here 10 years before I was born, so... But basically, the British government and they were sceptical for a bit, but then they started warming to him and stuff because they needed the media. They needed the promotion of their party and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, he came up here in the late 60s. He probably has the same views as fucking Enoch Powell. Wouldn't fucking surprise me.
May I ask for what's left of my part of the program? We will return after this message from our local station. I'm talking with Enoch Powell and with Jonathan Miller. Would you then have to admit that if all of the immigrants that are in question here were white Anglo-Saxon Protestants, you would be less exercised over this subject than you are?
But they're not immigrants. Those wouldn't be immigrants, would they?
If there were an influx of an equal number of white Anglo-Saxon...
Well, if the population's the same,
I'm Scottish. My granddad, may he rest in peace, traced us back, my family, both sides. He was at it for a few years. I'm Scottish. Back to before the 10th century, so fucking hundreds of years. He managed to get back. Bit patchy in areas. We had a nasty habit of burning our records so people couldn't get title or land and shit like that. Delightful. And always England trying to come up and take us over and shit like that as well didn't help. He does know that the Angles and the Saxons aren't from here. The Angles are the Low Countries, so Saxons are Saxony. So they're French or the Norse. They're from Northern European and they moved down to France essentially. So basically people from the North Sea coast, that's where they all got the Jutes as well. They all came in. Cornish, us Scots and the Irish have been here the longest. And obviously there's still people in England, or what would like Wessex, Mercia, West Sussex, Essex, places like that. There have been people here, but the vast influx came from Northern Europe and the coast of France and Netherlands, parts of Belgium, places like that. They moved in, they came over. They're all immigrants, essentially. My God, a lot of people in the south of England can trace their ancestry back to parts of France and parts of Germany, to about as far back as my granddad took our family. So, you do know that, Enoch, don't you? There's only a few parts of the British Isles who have claim to this land more than yous do. Plus we had other people coming in from parts of India, from Africa. They moved up as well during over the centuries. What? He surely knows this.
Population's the same. A problem doesn't arise, does it?
No, I think I'm stating the question clearly, aren't I? I'm saying that isn't it not logical, conceivable, probable that part of your concern is the difference in culture of these people and the difference in race?
Well, of course, if there were no difference, there would be no problem. Of course.
If there were, well...
Shall we start our program again?
I'll start another program.
I've got one question I want to ask. If in fact and I recognise what it is that worries you about the arrival...
That worries me.
Or that worries the people who you supposedly represent.
That worries the people of this country.
All right, that worries the people of this country. Let's leave it at this moment. If you are worried, and they are worried, about the arrival of a group of people in the culture who, by reason of differences of behaviour, are going to represent a stress upon that culture, I'm very surprised that one of the other forms of immigration, one of the largest influxes that has ever occurred in the history of this island, which has occurred in the last 25, 30 years, as a result of the introduction of antibiotics. It's the influx from the land of the dead, who are not usually recognised as such, an extraordinary proportion of people who are now allowed to live beyond ages which, as a result of diseases of the chest and cardiovascular system, they would not. You have recalled from another country, if you like, a very large group of people who, by virtue of their age, are throwing acute stresses upon the culture of the country, precisely because families find it very hard to live on very large numbers of occasions with old people for precisely the reasons that you are talking about, because they have different habits due to their age. Now, no one suggests, for example, that this population from the other side of the Styx are going to be given their fare and Charon's pennies to return them because they are an inconvenience due to their cultural differences from the young group upon whom they now become a burden. What we are learning to do is to accommodate old people, or should be doing, although, in fact, in the next 30 years, they will represent perhaps an even greater danger to the structure of our society if we cannot intelligently accommodate these people that we have rescued from this other foreign country, from much further away than Jamaica or from India. And I just wonder how you feel about that sort of problem, because I feel that from the metaphor of that problem, we can learn how to handle other people who've also come from other countries.
Well,
and because of our imperial past, essentially, and how we've fucked up lots of different areas across the globe, these people came here while they were still citizens, while they were still imperial citizens, before we granted them their independence, essentially. And look how we fucked up India and Pakistan. They're still fucking fighting over it to this day. We invited them in We needed them. We lost lots of people during the Second World War. Soldiers and citizens because of what the Nazis had done. We invited them in to help rebuild this country, to make it better, to fix it, essentially. And you're treating them like this? You are scum. Like I said, a lot of these people had British fucking passports. We invited them in to help build up our NHS. Help literally build this country back up. Brick by brick. After the fascists destroyed some of it, quite a lot of it. Not all of it. We still had industrial capacity, but it was old as fucking, needed renewed, needed upgraded and stuff. And we invited these people in to help rebuild this country after the war. And you treat them like this. Fucking despicable.
You called it a metaphor, and of course it is a metaphor, and a very striking and moving metaphor.
No problem, Gemma. You go and get all the provisions, get everything done and dusted, and everything like that. If you need any help or advice with doing anything connected to your poor old mum shuffling off the mortal coil, just reach out. You can DM me on Discord, or whenever you see me in chat or anything, you can DM me on you can whisper me on Twitch. Okay? You look after yourself, comrade. Alright? I'm always here. And if you want to learn more about British history, feel free to come back. And you, Enoch Powell, fuck off.
Metaphor. Of course, they didn't come back. They were prevented from going there. And these people are our parents, our relatives, our own flesh and blood, part of the inhabitants of this island, whose age structure and whose numbers, for the reasons which you've explained, have changed. Of course there are problems there. And there are problems which, unless we were to forswear the use of antibiotics and so on.
Something which is suggested by large numbers of doctors after the age of 60, incidentally.
I said unless we were to forswear that, is inevitable. But the immigration was not inevitable. This was due to a state of the law of this country, to which there is no parallel in any other country. This was due to the government of this country, and I take my share of the blame for it, deferring for too long to bring the law of this country into accord with reality. It is therefore something preventable in its growth, and at any rate in part reversible, since unlike the land of the dead, a great majority of the immigrants here and their children born here are the citizens of their home countries. So there is at any rate that, along with other basic differences, the difference between something which is remediable or partly remediable and something which, failing euthanasia and so on, is not. But I think I think, if I may say so, that the contrast which the metaphor imports is a very instructive one.
Oh. You what? Did he? Fucking amazing. Oh. Okay, Helen, I'm going to pinch part of your stream just so people can see this poll. It's just glorious, glorious. Oh. No bot raids tonight. Oh, you missed the fun, Scribby, the other night. When was this? I can't remember what night it was. I got a raid. Not a raid. I got a troll raid, essentially on my YouTube stream. It was delightful. I made Flowsnake and Jim Speak mods over there now. Not Flowsnake, Sozzled Snake. Sorry, Sozzled. So Sozzled and Jim Speak are mods now. If it happens again, I've just to call Jim and he'll come over and boot them. He was actually engaging with them, which was fun to see. Thank you, Jim Speak. You're absolutely based individual. So he helped me get rid of them. I timed them out for a day, essentially, but I think they got the message. None of that, if you please. They haven't been back since. Was that Saturday or Sunday night? Yeah, it was Sunday night. Because I'd watched Kevin Helena do Laura Kay, award-winning journalism. Then I done my stream. Then what was I covering on Sunday? Fuck, I can't remember. Yeah. And I got raided. I got basically attacked. Blech. Go. The raid should be coming in soon. Oh, talk while we wait. Don't you worry. They haven't been back since. Keeping an eye on my YouTube. I've only been attacked once on my Twitch. But at that point I didn't have Shanna, but I had non-binary. My God, they are based. They are amazing. They dealt with them as well. Thank you, non-binary, for that. That was fucking months ago. And I haven't been attacked since, essentially.
Red, white and blue.
It's absolute fucking idiots. Seriously, I don't know why they attempt it. We do know we can refute them all, and if they say anything if they come into the chat, every time that they click it to get into the chat for the first time, they see all my rules. And they break them all in a series of just... They type faster than me, for fuck's sake. I can still type kind of fast. Even though this is fucked. Cheese knife. So with the help of non-binary Jim Speak and Sozzled Snake and Shanna whenever she's in chat. That gets dealt with. No nonsense. Or boot it.
Fucking neoliberalism.
Oh, I can't even make it out. Oh, is a super chat too? Any suggestions for what you would like me to cover? Whack it in my general channel. I am collating a series about the development of vaccinations here in Britain.
I'm escaping to the one place that
Kev
hasn't
Reid.
been corrupted by capitalism. Space!
How far in is James that?
Vegan sausage roll.
10 minutes.
Thank you, Kevin Logan, for the raid. I appreciate everyone joining me today. Fuck it. I would usually give a 15-minute pre-stream, but since everyone's here, I will say hello. Howdy, good evening, chat. I hope we're all doing well. It is good to see everyone. As always, I hope we're all good.
Ah! There I'm there.
Yeah, let's get the Rory Cats emotes flying. Thank you very much. Good to see everyone. How are we doing, Kev? Thanks, Jim. Appreciate it. I do need to sort the Discord out as well. I just got your message. Got your tag in the Discord about needing to sort that shit out. Which is on the incredibly long to-do list. Do not worry. Do not worry, Jim.
Don't you worry, Helen. Don't you worry, Helena. My list keeps on getting longer by the day, and it's usually by myself. In fact, I need to actually fix my Discord a bit. I need to put in a couple more channels. Stuff like that. And if I ever do start gaming, I'll set up a new voice channel for game chat as well. For anyone that wants to join me, make a fool of myself. I've already done that on Raptor Stream with SCP Secret Lab. Holy fuck. Oh, give that one a go. I think it's still free. SCP Secret Lab. Type it into Steam if you have it. It really is quite fun. Even though I'm fucking useless at it. The lovely Raptor set up his own channel for it. He rents one, or he made one for himself, and you type it into Steam, into the SCP Secret Lab bit on the channels. If he does that again, and I go back on to play SCP Secret Lab with them, with Raptor Blue, Avalon of Babylon, Vendeel, and Shrub Girl. Another based Australian. I believe. You can come over to Raptor Stream and watch me make an absolute arse of myself. Or onto my stream. I might actually put it onto my stream as well when I'm doing that. You can see me, I'm fucking useless. I will learn though. I will learn. What other games I've got? I've got Pathologic HD, so that's the first one. I've actually neglected it for a couple of months now. Bought it in March. Yeah, 2 months I've neglected it. And the first SCP one as well. I could stream that and you can watch me play it on my own. Be an absolute tit.
Thank you, Edward. So David Lammy is a tosser. I mean, he's just suddenly had a wild epiphany. David Lammy has had a wild epiphany.
Oh, yeah. We could cover that after I show that, after we look at the poll and watch Helena discuss it. And I can give my comments as well about the poll. Thank you, YouGov, you've made my day. Seeing the Tories put down to fourth. Get wrecked, you absolute bastards.
Wild epiphany that suddenly everything is bad.
Yeah, well done, David Lammy.
It seems after over a year and a half of the Israeli genocide in Gaza, David Lammy has finally found a conscience. He's finally realised that what was obviously bad to every single observer up to now was indeed absolutely bad, and that just doing a symbolic retraction of arms licenses whilst still selling F-35 fighter jet parts throughout the entirety of the genocide as well wasn't good enough, and that they actually needed some material action to try and push the envelope on this. Of course, he's still been over to Israel to shake hands with Netanyahu, he's had meetings with the ambassador, he has been very complimentary over Israel and has only given, quite frankly, token pushback over the genocide up to now. But finally he has decided that we need to take some action. So there's been a joint statement, essentially by Canada and by France and by the UK, saying, please let aid into Gaza.
That is Solly. Well said, Solly. He did indeed insult Zara Sultana. She is relishing not having the whip, having so much fun destroying her former Labour Party colleagues. On you go, Zara, you fucking deserve it. God, David Lammy. Ugh. I watched James O'Brien interview him. Unfiltered. Fucking years ago now. Don't worry, I don't follow James O'Brien anymore. The man is a twat.
And let there try and be at least some kind of ceasefire, otherwise we'll cancel trade deals and impose some kinds of sanctions. Now this of course is something that should have been done at literally any point before now, and not even since October the 7th. This should have been the position over the occupied territories, that Israel have been committing continual human rights violations for the last 78 years. So this didn't start in October the 7th, and our complicity in Israel's colonization of Palestine has been ever present ever since the foundation of the State of Israel in 1948. So there should have been literally any action before now, but better late than never. What's interesting though, what's very, very interesting, is that The Independent has a theory. They've found someone who is to blame for why David Lammy hasn't, up until now, imposed real material opposition to Israel's genocide in Gaza. Let's have a look and see who The Independent blame for this. That's the wrong window. Why Starmer's government has waited until now to take action on Israel. As David Lammy announces the suspension of trade talks with Israel and new sanctions over the Gaza humanitarian crisis, political editor David Maddox explains why action wasn't taken sooner. Frustration spilled over in the comments on Tuesday.
Guesses in the chat for who they blame. It'll come as no surprise. Trust me. Fucking aye.
From Labour MPs and others over the time it has taken for Keir Starmer's government to step up and take action against Israel over the Gaza crisis. As the UN warned that 14,000 babies risk deaths from malnutrition by Thursday without urgent aid, there was a sense that by the time Foreign Secretary David Lammy got to his feet, it was already too late and not enough. And that's true, again, for all of the reasons I mentioned before, because of course Israel has been committing war crimes, crimes against humanity, acts that are illegal under international law for decades in their entire occupation of Palestine. So the fact that it has waited until there might be mass infanticide, that suddenly David Lammy has found a voice, and even in his statement condemning Israel, he still had to couch it by saying, oh, but I've always supported the state of Israel. I'm like, yeah, we know, David, we know. He announced a largely symbolic move of suspending trade talks with Israel and sanctions against some extremists, and not even all the extremists, only some extremists, rather than, the explicitly state-backed settlement project in the West Bank, again illegal under international law, that we've been giving total support to up until now, even as much as selling oil drilling licenses to companies who are actively engaging in funding of the settlement program in the West Bank. So we've been totally complicit in these violations of international law, this land theft. And political parties have covered this up as well. I remember there was a Tory minister, Alan Duncan, who got threatened and blackmailed by people within the Tory party because he had explicitly said in his position that Israel was engaging in land grabs, and this was too much given how many people in the Conservative Party are part of Conservative Friends of Israel.
There's a blast from the past, Alan Duncan. Holy fuck. We've been governed by ghouls for fucking decades.
Even Tory ministers have been calling on Labour to call a genocide. Edward Lee, the father of the House, even went so far as to say such a thing. So this is absolutely unilateral across Parliament, that they wanted to see this before now, and it's taken essentially to the point where mass infanticide is going to happen for David Lammy to do anything, and as has been pointed out in this article, it is largely symbolic. But there was no full suspension of arms sales nor sanctions against ministers in Benjamin Netanyahu's government, and of course Zara Sultana was right to point this out and asked David Lammy why he could sleep at night, and of course David Lammy completely dismissed such an argument.
Yeah, stop doing performative shit. Seriously, stop selling them arms. Stop selling the capability of bombing the Palestinians. And stop taking fucking land that isn't yours. We should be calling this out. We really should. Will my government do this? Will they fuck? Like I say, they're not my government. I didn't vote Labour. I didn't want them. I don't trust them. They've seen to that. Every place that I've ever lived in, up until we got an SNP MP, they've just ignored us. We've cried out for help. The part of Glasgow I'm in needs housing built. The house I'm currently in is a high rise because I've been decanted until they fix my flat. It was built between the wars. It needed fixed. Labour and council done fuck all to fix it while they still had it as a council property. Sat like that for fucking decades, essentially. Thank God for the SNP administration in Glasgow City Council, because they're actually fixing the shit that Labour didn't. They just fucking took no heed of. And the Labour MPs that we'd had in my constituency since the fucking Stone Age, we gave up. We were angry and we voted SNP, and we managed to keep on up until last year. Then they trusted Labour, even though Keir Starmer's a proven fucking liar now. My constituencies went back to Labour. Fuck. I tried to reach out to people. I talk to people in all the pubs that I go to. Do not fucking trust them. Still, they voted for them. And look, we're getting ignored again.
And couldn't even give her a proper answer. But the question is, why has it taken so long for the UK government to act even in this limited and specific way? Why is it only now that they are tightening the screw? You'll never guess. You'll never, ever guess who this article blames for Labour not taking action over Israel before now.
And if I'm going to live rent-free in his head...
Yes, indeed.
Perfect timing for that sound alert. Who was that? can't make out who that is.
Is living rent-free in the heads of our media class because, of course, they're going to blame Jeremy Corbyn, the jumbly-crumbly concrete man himself, for the reasons why Labour has been
Ding, ding,
facilitating
ding, ding.
a
No
genocide
fucking
for the last
surprise.
20 months. What a shock.
And if
It's
I'm
the
going
jam
to
man.
live rent-free in his head...
What a shock. It's the jam man himself that's to blame for this, and not indeed the fact that there is Israeli lobbyists who are explicitly funding Keir Starmer's political programme. Labour Together, funded by Israeli lobbyists. They have got people on the benches who have close relationships with Israeli lobbyists. It is
Correct,
clear
Eleanor.
as day, given that the current spokesperson for Benjamin Netanyahu is the ex-chair of Labour Friends of Israel, that there is huge amounts of lobbying and mutual interest between the current government and Israel. Nope, it's Jeremy Corbyn's fault, apparently.
No, it isn't.
In reality, Labour under Sir Keir Starmer has been held back by a sense of shame. A visible reminder of this came when the former leader Jeremy Corbyn got to his feet to challenge David Lammy. Under Corbyn's leadership, Labour became so immersed in anti-Semitism and so marginalised the Jewish community that the party has had to continue working hard to restore its reputation. Now, of course, Jeremy Corbyn has never been anti-Semitic. He's never said anything anti-Semitic. What he has been is a champion of the Palestinian cause and opposed those same Israeli lobby interests that now have their support on the Labour benches in government. The fact that they're even trying to go with this narrative in 2025, given that we all know now that it was all a scam, that it was all nonsense, it was all fabricated to try and smear somebody because of their foreign policy positions, given how we have had how they've tried to pull the wool over the eyes of the British people over the Israeli genocide in Gaza, and it hasn't worked. People across the country are still very pro-Palestine, broadly, given what they've been seeing on their social media feeds, and no amount of ridiculous propaganda and lies and half-truths and Hasbro has managed to be able to stop people sympathising with Palestine, right? Surely they can't be still going with this line now, all these years later, that this anti-Semitism crisis was anything other than a total fabrication.
We knew it was a fabrication back then. We knew this.
Because that's what it's always been about from the start. Removing any kind of left-wing influence in the Labour Party and replacing it with Sir Trilateral Commission, with somebody entirely in hock to American imperial interests. Because, of course, that is who is in control in this regard. It is not some sneaky Zionist Jewish conspiracy, like some people would like to say that it is. No, it is the Americans, because they are the most ardent Zionists. It is the American State Department, the people who have pushed these kind of things, the people in the Britain-America Project, people who want to keep Atlanticism at the core of British politics that are the problem here, because those are the ones who are the most supportive of Israel. It is nothing to do with people's ethnicity. This is about geopolitics. And they had to try and foment a narrative that would try and remove Jeremy Corbyn, and so they settled upon his support of the Palestinian people. And they got their wish when Keir Starmer got into government, because all of that positioning, all of that threat of another anti-Semitism scandal contributed to our government being entirely subsumed by the American State Department's interests over our interaction during the Gaza conflict, during the Israeli genocide in Palestine. For this reason, Sir Keir and Mr. Lammy have worked hard to support Israel's right to defend itself in the wake of the horrific 7th of October attacks by Hamas. Well, no, it's not for that reason. It's because they have support of people who are members of the Israeli lobby, but go ahead. And trying to create a force for political power and political change is the way in which that you try and cope with these things. Like, if we just sat around and, if you ignore it, you feel like you're letting the side down. Like, if you ignore it, you feel like you're not taking sufficient action for how high the stakes are. But if you engage with it, it's bad for your mental health. if you're just engaging on superficially with it. So the way that I think that it personally allows me to be able to cope with this stuff is the fact that I believe that there's a political project that we can do to fix these things. And of course I play lots of Magic the Gathering.
I should have actually checked how far into the stream the poll was.
We'll see, Noblini. We'll see. There's always, the opportunities are always going to be, they're going to have disparate, right? We can't. What we can't do is just let things just be on their own. You know. I've not felt no. Yes, I do love Universe. I'm ecstatic about Universes Beyond, Solly. I think you can tell from my reaction to your comment that I'm absolutely ecstatic about playing with Final Fantasy and fucking Spider-Man whilst playing Standard. Going to any more developments with the Green leadership? Well, the election is quite a few months away, so there's still plenty of time to get organised to try and corral people around the vote, or indeed to join the party to get access to the vote. So as long as you join before June, you should have access to be able to vote for Zach for leader. So I recommend everyone do so, right? If you don't have very much money, like a concessionary rate of membership for the Greens is like £13 a year. It's not exactly expensive to become a Green Party member, but if you can afford to give more, you should, because the Greens are already short of funding as it is. But if you wanted to vote for Zach, right, a membership fee is not very big. It's £13 a year. It's like just over £1 a month, right? It's cheaper than a can of Red Stripe. To Commons. Not only to quell the fury of backbenchers, but also because they are faced in a situation that even Donald Trump finds unacceptable. As the Prime Minister said himself, it is utterly intolerable. The issue will be, though, whether these latest measures are too little too late. Well, people like The Independent, people like The Guardian and The Times and The Telegraph and The Mail and The Sun and everybody else, the whole rogues gallery of Fleet Street, were all complicit in fomenting the popular sentiment that the Labour Party could not be pro-Palestinian or oppose Israel lest they be claimed to be anti-Semitic. They created a bogus conspiracy about potential anti-Semitism within Jeremy Corbyn's political project, and this was used to beat any pro-Palestinian sentiment out of public life entirely, essentially. That was the cudgel that was used, and it was done so that we could install somebody who was entirely amenable to American imperial interests in number 10. And what do we have to show from it? Tens of thousands of dead children. A genocide, live-streamed, broadcast on social media to everyone to see, except apparently Keir Starmer and David Lammy refused to see it. Well, just like in all of the situations that have arisen since the Wrecking campaign of 2017 and 2019, you got what you wanted. The comments are all very clear in saying this was stupid, so... Highest number of child amputees in history, yep. There's going to be a one-term administration, almost certainly, as far as I can see. They've had a new low in approval ratings, by the way. Their new low for the government's approval rating is it's now minus 50. It's now minus 50. Though they sanctioned Daniela Weiss, well, that's just, again, it's just every single time with this government, it's just policy by fucking Netflix special. And we're only gonna sanction Israeli settlers if they've been featured on, like, a BBC documentary.
Unbelievable.
Like, that's just so funny to me. It's like, well, people know who this settler is because of Louis Theroux. Therefore, we are going to sanction this one specifically. Like, the Alan Bates versus the post office approach to political policy. I don't know. Probably under Liz Truss, Brody. Yeah, there has to be a TV series about it for the Labour government to have an opinion.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, Blue Labour strategy really paying off. Again, Morgan McSweeney really is pulling out all the stops. Did anyone read the Adam Bienkov article for Byline Times? Essentially dispelling a bunch of McSweeney myths, in that actually he didn't beat back the BNP. It just happened to be that when the BNP was being supported in the constituency that they were campaigning in, they won a bunch of elections outside of a general election year, and the next set of locals were around the general elections. A bunch of High Princy voters came out after Morgan McSweeney put on a campaign against the BNP in Barking and Dagenham. The BNP vote went up. It's just that the Labour vote increased more because of them being pulled out for a general election. So actually, McSweeney doesn't have this. The mythos of McSweeney is entirely incongruent with his actual electoral history, right? It's just so funny to me. It's just, again, I said before, like, the McSweeney strategy is just to lie. It's just to openly lie and hope that nobody catches you out. Which, again, it's great once. Like, that strategy can work, but only once. After the first time, people tend to get wary of you just being totally dishonest and disingenuous about what you believe and what you stand for and what policies you're going to implement. I didn't know that, Naid. I know, right, chat? I know. It's just so fucking miserable, isn't it? Let's watch some reaction from earlier today.
We've heard quite a lot about that big announcement on Israel. What about the politics of it all, however? In Parliament, the Conservatives were highly critical. Let's speak now to the Shadow Home Secretary, Chris Philp. Did you feel that the Foreign Secretary's language was too much? It was strong, but a lot of people would agree with it.
Well, I think there is a humanitarian crisis that does need to be addressed. And the fact that I heard the UN Under-Secretary General this morning saying that there were, babies...
Sorry, I shouldn't really do a joke about this, but... a Rackham Ladich is what Israel captures. Netanyahu is,
That's 2 o'clock. I think we'll read into Dr. Homozygote now. I'll clip this. I'll find the right clip. I'll clip it out and show it on my next stream, which should be tomorrow night after Kev and Helen have finished streaming for PMQs. So we'll go over and say hi to Homozygote. Then I'll need to... Oh, thank you, Scribby. I just wanted to show you that poll before I went, but I can't seem to find it. My fingers aren't working properly now. Ooh. So I will rage you all over to Dr. Homozygote. I've still got my headphones on. Yep, still going. Hi. Give me homozygote. Gimme.
Things were drawing
Ooh.
more FPS than they should. I need
Red
to
lighting tonight.
retest everything and make sure it's good on the newest drivers, because I reverted to the drivers from December because all the new drivers are having issues with 50 series cards. I have a 30 series card, but besides the point.
Oh.
I just wanted to try and isolate the driver variable first, so
read
I
in.
know I have a set of things that
Oh.
work. So I'll try the new drivers with an FPS cap,
So
and I
just
think
shut
that should do
down
the trick.
and
Yeah, Alex, both games were
I was
maybe at
literally just going
half
to
of
drop
their
these all over
like
there.
total RPM load on the GPU fans, and they weren't immediately accelerating.
Thank you, comrades. This tired little Scottish Marxist needs their sleep. Feeling kind of stiff. Thank you for joining me. It has been a blast, and I will see you all 12, 20, 21, 20 on what? 3 hours back? 11? 20 or 21 hours time. So you all stay based, and I'll catch you later.